Hello my friends, Mina Geek here. Let me indulge myself a little bit into the year of 2004, one of the best years in PC gaming history. If you don't believe me, please have a look at some of the games that were released back then. From all of these we have the original FPS trilogy, Half-Life 2, Far Cry and Doom 3. Amazing games! Half-Life was known for its original storytelling, amazing gameplay and physics, Far Cry for the amazing and refreshing visuals, and Doom 3 for its performance. But was Far Cry any better regarding performance? It so happens that my computer barely resembles the minimum requirements of this game. Can it run Far Cry? And if yes, will I be able to get out of the tunnel and see that gorgeous lush environment? Let's find out, shall we? Being one of the best looking games from 2004, we should expect some beefy system requirements, but the minimum requirements are quite low to be honest. Look at this. Athlon or Pentium 3 at 1 GHz, CPUs released in year 2000, 256 MB of RAM and 64 MB GeForce 2, also released in the year 2000. I will be using an Athlon clocked at 1.1 GHz, socketed on a VIA KT266A motherboard with 256 DDR memory and a GeForce 2 GTS, but it has only 32 MB of video memory. We'll see if it's okay, it's half of the required amount. As always, we're starting with the loading time, which is around 1 minute and a half. It's a lot, I have no more to say about this. I'm using 800 by 600 32-bit because this is the lowest resolution I can select, and low settings for everything. In the corridors, the game has around 30-40 FPS, which is good. Let's see the green stuff. We drop to 20 FPS, still not bad. 18, 19, 20, small freezes, and yeah. First, don't worry, the video card is not dead. And second, I've tried again and again. By the way, if you're wondering why the game looks this bad, it's because the low details and resolution, and slightly because of the capture card. So, again, this time I managed to get further down the road, but then disaster struck again. Let's analyze the situation. There could be a lot of reasons for this. The drivers are okay. I'm using Forsware 7189 which were released in 2005, after the game. It could be the 32 MB of video memory of the video card. After all, the requirements say 64 MB. Looking in RivaTuner, we can see that the game uses 51 MB of video memory outside and 24 inside. Could this be the problem? I don't think so, because when using a Radeon video card and the same resolution and settings, the game uses around 37 video memory. I suspect a video memory leak. What do you guys think? The entire system memory is used when playing Far Cry, so the system memory usage is higher than the minimum required, and this results in some freezes when loading assets. When running a benchmark, the game is stable for the entire period, and the result is 33 FPS. This benchmark runs at 640 by 480, so I have tried to run Far Cry at this resolution, because the game will stay at this resolution after using the benchmark. All said and done, it seems that the game plays better now, around 20 FPS outside during combat. But again, the same crash. What now? Well, I don't have a GeForce 2 with 64 MB of RAM. With the exception of the crash, which might be due to a video memory leak or because the video card has only 32 MB, the game runs pretty well. 20 FPS during combat is playable. There aren't a lot of freezes, and so Far Cry's minimum requirements are spot on. Well done, Crytek. But let's go to the recommended requirements. Athlon XP 2000 Plus or Pentium 4, 512 or 1024 MB of RAM, and a Radeon 9500 or 9800 XT. I will be using an Athlon XP 2000 Plus, which has a frequency of 1.7 GHz, 1 GB DDR of system memory, and I had to change 4 memory sticks in order to find a compatible one. I'm telling you, it's something with AMD motherboards and memory compatibility. And then the powerful Radeon 9800 XXL, which is a Radeon 9800 XT with just 128 MB of video memory. It should be fine. But the CPU is an unknown 1.25 GHz model, because for this motherboard, which is the same as before, I've just changed the CPU, you need to be friends with the jumpers. Yes sir, move the jumper to change the FSB from 100 to 133 and all things should be fine. And now, the drivers. To cut a long story short, Catalyst 10 won't work, the game looks like this. Omega drivers and Catalyst 6 both work, and they both have similar performance, with the Omega having the upper hand. As you can see, I've run the benchmark for both drivers, and sometimes the Omega has higher frame rate. In the end, the Omega has 60 FPS, while the Catalyst 57, like I've said, similar. I've run the benchmarks at 640 by 480 minimum settings, and this system has double the FPS of the previous one. The loading time is also way faster. The first system loaded the game in 1 minute and 30 seconds, this one in 39 seconds. I'm going to tell you from the start, the Radeon 9800 is bottlenecked like crazy by the Athlon XP. Look at the comparison with other CPUs. Crazy. By the way, I had no crashes with these components. The game sits around 40-60 FPS all the time when using 800 by 600 low settings. For a 2004 game, it looks amazing even at low settings.
What's that sound?
The game uses the CPU at 100%, 550 MB of system memory and 36 MB of video memory. So, for Far Cry, you really needed more than 512 MB of RAM. Let's move to 1024 by 768 medium details. We have the recommended requirements after all. We can play the game at minimum settings only. The card is not even sweating. We have now between 30 and 40 even in combat, which is pretty good. What I like is that the game doesn't freeze. I saw some tiny stutters, but that's all.
Where did he go?
The game uses 380 MB from the system memory for a total usage of 620 MB. The video memory is still on the lower side. From my point of view, 80 MB for a game with such details is amazing, I would say. I've never looked at Far Cry as an optimized game, but here we are. I'm starting to see way clearer now. But let's see some high settings, and then we need to go towards maximum details. I can't imagine this video otherwise. I'm going to replay the same area, of course. Jumping straight into the combat scenes, we now have drops to low 20s, even under 20 FPS. Even ATI trade tools makes me aware of the frame drops. Is it playable at these frames? Well, it's not ideal, but as long as we don't have big stutters or freezes, it's decent. And because I'm a professional, I can tell you this for certain. Going under 25 FPS feels laggy. It's that feeling of the weapon being wobbly and heavy while moving or shooting it. It feels like I have input lag. The game uses 488 MB of RAM for a total of 727, but it's okay. All of us had 1 GB of RAM in 2004, right? We have 124 MB for the video memory, which means that we've reached the video memory limit of this card. See? That's why Crytek recommended the Radeon 9800 XT. That card had 256 MB of VRAM, which you're going to need when playing at high settings. We have one more step. 1280 by 1024 maximum settings, we're going all in. But let's take a moment and appreciate greatness. This looks amazing. If it wasn't for the low detail textures that you can see from afar, this could pass for a late 2000s game, especially when looking at the water. No matter if you like the visuals overall, this right here is art. The performance dropped, not that much, but it did. We even have 15 FPS. Like I've said in the beginning, the CPU is greatly hindering the video card. I can feel it struggle. The Radeon has wings, but it can't fly. It's tied to the earth by 1.7 GHz of raw Athlon power. It really needs more juice. For example, this exact video card can do 32 FPS at 1600 by 1200 very high settings with a Core 2 Duo. What about the recommended requirements then? Well, the game needs a faster CPU, I can tell you that. Playing at 1024 by 768 medium settings is okay, but we have here the second best video card from March of 2004 when Far Cry was released. We should do better. Higher resolutions, higher settings. This could be achieved with a better CPU. For example, an Athlon 64 from 2004. But what about a powerful computer from 2004? Let's test the game with some of the fastest components from that year. Pentium 4 540 with a Prescott core, clocked at 3.2 GHz with an FSB of 800 MHz and 1 MB of level 2 cache. 2 GB of DDR 800 MHz RAM with heatsinks will have plus 2 FPS for sure. And a GeForce 6800 GS. I know, it was released in 2005, but this card is basically a 6800 GT with 5% less performance. We're using 1280 by 1024 maximum details. First, the game loads in 50 seconds. Second, I found out something weird regarding video memory usage. We are now at 110 MB in the tunnels. After we get out, the amount increases, obviously. We're loading all the grass, trees and water. In the end, we reach around 154 MB. This is weird because after Alt-Tab to desktop, the game drops to 80 MB of video memory. And even after finishing this entire area, the game still sits at around 128 MB. Was this the video memory leak that killed my GeForce 2? Is this happening only after exiting the tunnels? Well, maybe. Then the FPS. 45, 60 FPS all the time, without any freezes or stutters. Considering that in 2004 we still believe that 30 FPS is all the FPS that you need in this life, and that we're playing at absolute maximum settings, I think that we're good. The video card was one of the best in 2004, but the CPU was not. Pentium 4 Prescott at 3.2 GHz was not that great. We had Athlon 64 4000 plus back then. Now that's a fast CPU. Throwing some 8x anisotropic at the game, the FPS drops drastically from 40 to 25. I bet that a Radeon X card would have fared better with anisotropic. Please flame the comments in the section below. But when going into the battle, we see that we have around 40 FPS, somewhat close to not using anisotropic. The video memory increases to 163 MB. After that, we add 4x anti-aliasing while keeping the anisotropic. You might expect a huge drop in performance, but now the FPS is still around 40, very small drops to high 30s. This is because using anti-aliasing and anisotropic stresses the video card, and the video card can do more that you are seeing right now. The CPU is the one that can push the FPS higher. With both AA and AF, we almost reach 200 MB of video memory. Could we run Far Cry? Yes, we could, and we could at absurd settings, with components from the same year. We also could run it with 4 years older components, ish. What type of extra tests should I do for further minimum and recommended requirements videos? What games do you want to see in the future? Please let me know and I might listen. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, use faster processors and don't choke the video cards.